Dabo! Damn it, Dabo. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. What in the hell is they feeding Jim Miller? When we look at junior year to senior year, Lord have mercy. Hey, QB1! QB1! What's up, y'all? What's poppin'? Yes, sir. Welcome to the debut show, The Truth with Najeh Wilkins, man. And the reason we call it The Truth is because that's all we're going to speak on this show. We do this show weekly, as y'all voted on Instagram. I appreciate all the love and engagement. You know what I'm saying? Y'all voted to have a weekly show, man. So here y'all have it. And the truth is, we're going to keep it authentic. We're going to keep it 1,000 with y'all. Buck. While we analyze college football, man. That's just how it's going to go. That's how it's going to be, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube, man. Make sure you share, tell a friend to tell a friend. And as we go, man, like I said, this is for y'all. This is for the audience, man. So if it's topics y'all want to discuss on the show, anything y'all boys want to see, y'all please let me know. Again, all my social media, on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Najeh Wilkins. So y'all follow your boy and let me know anything y'all want to see. Now, I want to get into the Heisman, but a lot of people was talking about this matchup, man. So we're going to go ahead and break it down and get into it, man. Everybody wants to hear my thoughts on this Alabama, obviously, versus Vandy matchup. And it's a pretty big one. It is a pretty big one. Two really good teams. I mean, you got Johnny Manziel, who's mentoring, Diego Pavia. Obviously, that's huge. And you got two teams that are in important positions right now. When you look at Vandy, they've started off 5-0, start the year, right? And it's a team that wants to get better, right? And they want to continue to kind of trek up, and Pavia is having a Heisman candidate-worthy season once again, and he's been taking advantage of his opportunities. He's been throwing the ball with some of the best of them, and he's been electric so far to start the year. And then you look at Alabama. Alabama's a team that everybody wrote off. And this is why I love the CFP going to 12 teams, because remember everybody was saying week one when they got beat by Florida State, Bama's done. It's a wrap. It's over with for them. And then now we're seeing the tide change, right? Which is ironic enough. Crimson tide changing. Alabama's the number 10 team overall, right? And now you're seeing I guess you could say, what's the term I'm looking for? The opinion on Kalen DeBoer's changed a little bit too, right? People are saying, oh, well, maybe we look too deeply at the week one, right? And y'all got to remember, you're not playing your best football on week one. Right, you're still figuring things out. You're still trying to figure out the identity of your team, all that good stuff. Because it's new pieces being meshed together, y'all. Y'all gotta remember that because you're hitting the transfer portal, right? You're bringing in new freshmen, and you're trying to work a new team every single year, right? So Alabama showed on the road against Georgia, they can go in there and they can go ball, right? And when you look at this game, I think it's going to be very important for the Alabama Crimson Tide to run the rock, right? Now, y'all seen in my intro, I talked about Jim Miller, obviously, and how big and how stellar he's gotten. He just returned last week, but he's going to be massive for Alabama in this game, right? And we see Ty Simpson. I've been thoroughly impressed. You look at the stat sheet, you look at what he's doing on the football field. As Kirby Smart said before their game against Georgia, he's one of the hottest quarterbacks in college football, and we're seeing it, right? 11 touchdowns, 1,138 yards passing. He doesn't turn over the football, right? He makes the right reads and throws. If it's not there, he's going to try to scramble for it. If he can't scramble, he's throwing the ball out of bounds, right? And I love now that Miller is returning back, right? And to couple that with a Riley and an Eichelin, that's going to help their running game, which has struggled this season. If you look at Alabama, like a store like 488 yards at this point in the season is not good for Bama. You're usually seeing, 300-400 yard rushers at this point in the season. You have not seen that. But with Jam Miller coming back, the offensive line finding a stride, you obviously got an All-American in Caden Proctor. It looks good. So if I'm them early on, establish the run, right? Hit Vanderbilt in the mouth, and then hit them deep shots down the field with Jeremy Bernard, obviously, and Ryan Williams and things like that. Now, again, it's not going to be easy because Vanderbilt's coming in with momentum. Vanderbilt's coming in with confidence, right? A team they feel like they can beat in Alabama. The way they control the football, the way they can hit on those big plays down the field. This is not an easy matchup. But the good thing for the Crimson Tide is this game's home, right? It's at home. So you have the ability to handle your business at home, and you got the crowd behind you. And this is a team, if you're Alabama, you should feel even more motivated because they upset you last year, right? They was one of the teams that you was looking, you was like, well, why isn't Bama getting to the college football playoff? And that was one of the reasons because of Vanderbilt and losing to them, right? So it's a big game for both teams, right? If you're Bama, you don't want a second loss this early in the year in October. You just don't want that. So if you're the Crimson Tide, let's handle the business. Let's lean on Todd Simpson and Jam Miller. Let's establish the running game. You got a pretty good defense. We've seen it last week. I know Georgia got a lot of yards on the ground. Credit to Chauncey Bowens. Credit, obviously, to their running backs in Josh McCurry and everything like that. But overall, you did pretty good in the secondary. Yes, there was a few lapses and a few busts. But besides that, your team played pretty well for the most part, and you made it tough for Gunnar Stockton. Remember, Gunnar Stockton lit up Tennessee defense a few weeks ago in Knoxville. You limited him to a certain degree, So if you Bama, you feel good coming in. But again, you playing a team that's hungry. A team wants to show, hey, last year was not a fluke for us. We them dudes. We them guys. You know what I'm saying? And when you have that, you have to be able to come in and be focused and making sure that you make it tough, right? Because Pavia's coming in confident, 75% completion percentage, right? 13 touchdowns on the year, only 3 interceptions. He's coming in confident, right? And he's coming in like, yeah, we gonna do this. And he's their best rusher this year, right? So with the dual threat RPO game and what he can bring to that side of the table, you're going to have to be disciplined if you Bama, right? Because they're going to run that all game and they're going to make you be disciplined with your edges. Now, you look at last game, LT Overton was doing his thing, right? He was tearing up Georgia, right? So you're going to need a similar performance, not just from him, but just from your defensive line of staying disciplined, making the right plays, making the right reads for 4 quarters, right? But you got to feel confident going into this game. You study the tape, you know what you bring to the table, you know about their weapons, right? And the key is going to be for Vanderbilt, if you're going to beat this Bama team, you have to attack the middle of the field, right? And the reason I say that, it's not that Bama doesn't have linebackers. They do. But you got one of the best tight ends in college football, Eli Stowers. So you're going to need to get him the ball in space in the middle of the field, get going early, establish a tempo and a rhythm with Diego Pavia, and you got a shot in this game. But if you're Alabama, you're going to have to be very careful that. You might have to bring a safety up, right? Excuse me. You might have to bring different things to throw different looks at Pavia and kind of confuse him. So it's going to be an interesting chess match between the two and to see who kind of comes out on top. But that is my preview, my things to watch out for in this game. I think 2 really good opponents, 2 really good teams looking to take really that next step of this year, right? And 2 teams with obviously aspirations of getting to the college football playoff. Now I don't know if I should do my prediction now of who I'm going to roll with, but last week I rolled with Georgia, Bama ended up beating them. I have confidence in Alabama. I have confidence in the Crimson Tide. So I'm going to roll with Alabama. I think they're going to come out on top. I believe they're going to be able to run the ball with Jam Miller. Ty Simpson's going to make the throws down the field. Cooked Georgia last week for nearly 400 yards of offense by himself. I think you will see the same thing. Crimson Tide shows, hey, week 1, you wasn't on their A game. But week 6, we ready. We done got all that stuff out of our system, and we here to stay. I think it's going to be a close game. I got a 31-24 victory for Alabama. I think Alabama's going to do enough in this game to win, but I think Vanderbilt is going to be interesting. I think Vanderbilt gets out to an early lead in this one, but Bama responds and shows that they're a team that should be in the CFP. I'm going with the Crimson Tide in this one. All right, so that is my preview for obviously that matchup. All right, let's talk about the nitty-gritty. My favorite team, as y'all all know, I will say I'm not biased when it comes to this. I love this game. Hold on one second. Pull up this game. I don't know why I pull up the tickets. Okay, let's just do full scoreboard because it's doing too much. All right, this is the game. This is the game I'm excited about, y'all. This Miami Florida State, man. Man, what a game this is going to be, man. And the biggest question is for Florida State, how do you respond? Right? You lost to Virginia, right? And that was a trap game. It was. I don't care what anybody say. That was a trap game for obviously Florida State because you come in, you got confidence, you didn't beat Bama, you didn't handle your business all year long. You're blowing out teams, and whoa, it's Virginia for real. 3-1 coming into the year. They're running the ball well, right? Obviously got Morris who's throwing the rock well. When you come in, and are you able to win that game? And credit them because they were up in that game, Virginia, and they ended up responding. It was just too little, too late. Obviously late in that game, man. But how do you respond, right? I think if Florida State doesn't lose that game, ESPN College Game Day is there, right? Miami, Florida State, they're going to show that game. But obviously this game has a lot of magnitude. It's a rivalry, right? This is the game at the end of the day. If you're a Miami Hurricane or if you're a Florida State Seminole fan, you're like, yeah, we got to win this game, right? And I love it. I feel like a little, to a degree, ACC has kind of liked this a little bit over the last few years, maybe the last half decade of just having rivalries inside the conference. Of course, you got Clemson in there. We just haven't seen those. Okay, yeah, this is a game we gotta watch, right? And I feel like that's what it is, and that's why it's on ABC, right? But how does Tommy look this upcoming game against Miami? Now, look, this is the best defensive front they faced all season. Respect to Alabama. I know they faced them this year, but this is the best defensive front. Ruben Bain, excuse me, and Messendor are a problem, right? So you got to be able to have something for Ruben Bain in this game. 22 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks already this year. That boy ain't playing, right? So if you Florida State. So how do you establish the run in this game is going to be one of my biggest questions, right? We know that you obviously share. We know you got a really good backfield. You got a true freshman that's pretty good, right? And obviously Usman Kroma, right? Now I know he's not starting, but you obviously got Sawchuk, who's been doing his thing in this game, 234 yards. And if you Miami, you face another dual threat quarterback, right? So you're gonna have to be disciplined in this game and make sure that you don't get confused on looks. But Kroma is the one I mentioned, obviously, right here, y'all. Right? True freshman, already 174 yards, 28 carries. They feature him a good bit. He's a battering ram, right? And he's a guy like if you get down, if you're in Miami, it could be a long night because they're gonna run him the ball and give him the ball a lot and kind of just lean on you a little bit, right? So if you Florida State, you gotta establish the run. That's where it starts for you, right? Sawchuk, Castellanos, Chroma, that's what I'm looking at first, right? And get Castellanos in a rhythm, right? Because you see it early on, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like, stats ain't gaudy, but we know he's a problem with his legs. You got to get him in the rhythm early. Quick flat routes for the running backs, hitches, digs, things to get him going early in this game if you want a potential chance. If Florida State gets off to a slow start, I don't think they win this game. You got to get off to a fast start in this one if you want to have a chance. Now, we know you got receivers on the outside that can damage you. We know about Robinson with the 3 touchdowns on the year, nearly 400 yards receiving. We know about Dancy as well. They got some weapons on the outside. We know about Squirrel White, too, who's another underrated player. But can you establish that run? Can you attack in them seams of that defense? That's much improved this year for the Hurricanes. Those are the keys, obviously, for Florida State to come out with a victory. Now, if you're Miami, man, do what you do best, man. Right? We seen the game against Florida, right? Passing game wasn't good. It wasn't. Right? And Carson Beck struggled. He did not have a good game. So the keys for this one for the Hurricanes, right? You got some dogs in the backfield. You got a Mark Fletcher, right? And you got weapons on the outside, right? You look at CJ Daniels, right? You look at obviously Malachi Tony, true freshman who's looked good this year. So the key for you is get those guys going early too, right? If you struggle early offensively, your defense is going to be able to make the plays and continue to get you into a rhythm. Right? This defense has played some of the best complementary football you'll probably see this year, right? So if you're the Hurricanes, you just need Beck to not turn over the ball, right? Now, if you got early turnovers, man, it might be a long night. But if you can take care of the football, lean on them trench work with Francis, obviously Bain and Messendor, you got a shot in this game. No doubt about it. So I'm going to go with my Hurricanes, man. I think they're going to be able to come out on top. I think it's going to be a tough game. You go on the road. Tallahassee, and it's a big one for Florida State because if you lose, that's pretty much it for your college football playoff chances. I don't see too many more games that can help you, right? Clemson's obviously on schedule, but Clemson's 1-3. Clemson would have to win out and, that game to be probably relevant when they play later on in the season. So if you Florida State, it's a big game because it's a resume-defining win. And then you got 2 teams at the height of the ACC with a loss, right? So if you Florida State, you got to win at home. It's a quality win for you, top 5 AP win. It's only going to help you in your SOS, your strength of schedule this season. So it's a must win for Florida State, whether you guys want to admit it or not. Must win. But I'm going to roll with my Hurricanes, man. I believe in Mark Fletcher. I believe in our running game. I believe in Coach Cristobal and what he can do with the weapons on the outside. I'm going with my Hurricanes, man. Big time dub, for Miami. All right. So that is that game, man. Let's look at another one. Florida, Texas, a big game, man, for both of these teams, man. Florida, I mean, we've seen some of the quotes. We've seen obviously in the audience. We've seen DJ Lagway say this when his offense pop, it's going to be a problem. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but this offense has been putrid. Let's keep that a bean. The offense has been putrid. It has not been obviously at a high level, right? And you're going up against a top defense now. I was doing my research on this game, and y'all, not Florida State, excuse me, Texas, they had the number 4 total defense in the country, right? So that's in yards per game. They're giving up. They're the top 4 team. So you're facing a really good defense, right? And they got a star emerging at the slot position in Grayson Littleton. So it's like, if you Florida, your defense has been pretty good this year, right? They've kept you in games. Against LSU, they only gave up 13 points. But then it's like, how are you going to, and that's the key point in football, complementary football. How do you complement the defense, right? And if you Florida, any chance in hell you want to get to a CFP, which a lot of people will say it's over, you have to win this game, right? You got to give Texas they second loss of the year and boat them down, you know? But the key in this game, man, it's the passing attack. It's the passing attack for Florida. You got to be able to attack those corners, right? Dallas Wilson got a positive update from Coach Napier, who said he's continuing to progress. We'll see if he plays in this game, right? You got Jaden Ball at the running back spot you can get a ball to. There were some games like he will only have 7-8 touches. Like what are we doing? You get your best players the ball, right? Easily, Ball should have 15 to 20 touches in this game, whether that's getting the ball in the backfield or you're getting to it out there in space. Get your playmakers the ball, period, right? Get Vernon Brown III going. Get Eugene Wilson going. Like, get these guys the ball. You got the weapons. If you Florida, find a way to get them boys going early. It could be drag routes, whatever it is. You got to get DJ Lagway in the rhythm, period. And I don't know what it is. I know Billy Napier still calling plays. You got to find a way to make this, simplify this, and make it easier, period. If you don't, right, this could be a game to get fired, right? I know everybody's saying, oh, they're back in coach. Let you get blown out at home by Texas. It's over. I think they fire him if he gets blown out at home against Texas, period. So you're going to have to go in this game, and you're going to have to make it tough. Now, look, your defense been balling. We've seen Arches continue to progress and get better each week, but this is the first real test, right, since Ohio State. The first real test for Arch. The defense is a problem if you're Florida, but can your offense play that complementary football and help you out? That's the biggest question. And they got, if you're going to beat Tech, you got to score more than 7 points. You just have to, So it's going to be interesting to see in this game how Florida plays. If they can get out to an early lead, make it tough, pin their ears back on defense, get some pressures, could be tough. But if you go and you only scoring 7 points and you're struggling offensively, might be a long day. And like I said, let you get beat by 17 plus points. I think Napier is out of there. So it's a big game for both teams. And like I said, Texas has the number 4 total defense in the country. So their defense is for real. They got dogs, But if you Florida, you feel comfortable because the receivers have been struggling to create space. And when I say create space, when you study the film, you look at it, they're not creating a lot of separation, right? So the DBs for Florida is a strong suit along with the front. So with that, if you can play plaster coverage, you make Arch throw in some tight windows, you feel pretty good about your chances to force some negative plays and being able to get the ball back to your offense. But if they do that consistently, Florida got to go put points on the board, period. Nonetheless, I'm going Texas. Big time win for the Longhorns. I think they go on the road. They beat Billy Napier in Florida. I'm going to go by 14 points. I'm going to go 31-17. Big win for Texas. I think they pull away in the second half. I'm going with the Longhorns, man. That is my prediction. I think Texas will be ready to go. And I think this will be the game that Arch finally shows the entire country that he is for real, the hype is warranted, and that, hey, I'm here to stay. All right? So obviously that big Texas and obviously Florida game, that is my thoughts. That's my reaction, man. All right, let's keep it going. Let's keep breaking it down. Again, we don't do just SEC. We also do ACC. So let's go ahead and break down another big-time matchup in the ACC, man. Now, I know what y'all gonna think. Najeh, why are you breaking down this matchup? Look, this one still has big implications, right? Because when we look at Clemson and down the stretch, and this is why I said about Florida State, like you don't have too many big games coming up after this one with Miami, which is why it's important for them to win. But if you Clemson, you got to get it together, right? You got to beat North Carolina. You got Boston College, SMU, Duke, Florida State, right? Big game. Can help you out a lot, especially if they're ranked. Louisville, right? It's 4-0. They got a big game. We'll talk about that later on in the show, right? Handle your business against Louisville. It's another game that can help you. Furman, and then can South Carolina get back ranked? Already 2 losses. Can South Carolina make some noise get back ranked. That can help your resume too. So that's why I say it's not necessarily over for Clemson. You can get in my opinion, with a 9-3 record, right? It's not like you lost to Troy, right? You lost to a really good Georgia Tech team who's 5-0. And Syracuse loss looks ugly because they just got pummeled by Duke, right? 30-3. Lord. But mess around, let Duke be ranked. Duke got a big game against California this weekend, right? Those things will help you. That's what I said. The schedule's formidable enough for Clemson. If they can get it going, they might have an outside chance of getting in there, right? So, but it starts with North Carolina. You got to handle business, right? And as Coach Dabo has said, right, they're not playing good football, right? But it starts with a spark. Starts with a big play. We know about Adam Randall and what he's been doing in the backfield this year for you, right? He's been complimentary. He's been running the ball at a high level. But for Clemson, it all starts with your quarterback. It starts with Cade Klubnik. He has not looked good. It looks like he has regressed. And coming in, he was the ACC Player of the Year. All eyes were on Clemson. Clemson was deemed as a title favorite this year because of all the NFL roster of talent they brought back and their quarterback. But the quarterback has looked pedestrian, to say the least. He's looked pedestrian, and he shouldn't be. Now, I know you've been battling injuries with TJ Moore, who's been in and out of the lineup, but you got Brian Wesco. We've seen him, did his thing against Georgia Tech, 7 catches, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's dangerous, right? Get him the ball in space, let him cook, right? TJ Moore, Antonio Williams, right? You got the weapons. Now, the offensive line, under the tutelage of Matt Luca, has not been the best for Clemson. Has to be better. We've seen them kind of get exposed against LSU, right? But can you do enough on the road against North Carolina, a team, I know a lot of people are slighting and saying they're not that good and in the rebuild mode? Still won't be an easy game, but you got to handle your business. And it starts building that momentum early and beating a North Carolina team, right? Team that lost their quarterback, a team that's still figuring it out, right? And a team under head coach Bill Belichick, they're just not quite there yet, right? They got more things they got to figure out, right? And can they take that next step? Gio Lopez has been turning over the ball, So if you Clemson, you got to be opportunistic, right? You got Avion Terrell, Khalil Barnes, some of the better pieces in the secondary in the country, right? You got a Sammy Brown and you got a Woody Woodass, right? You got a TJ Parker and a Peter Woods. Make them make mistakes. Make them turn over the football. And we know running the ball is not a specialty, right? So if he's having to drop back and pass that ball a lot, you feel pretty good if you Clemson because you got the playmakers on the outside to make plays and draw the ball loose. So if you Clemson, in this game, you can make them one-dimensional. Make them throw the ball in the air, capitalize, and you should win this game pretty handily. I'm going with the Clemson Tigers. I think they got too much. I think they're just too good. And I know everybody's going to write them off. But again, if you're Clemson, it starts with one game. Getting that victory, and you've seen the schedule, right? Is it favorable? Sure. Does it help them out? Sure. But at the same time, if you Clemson, it starts with one win, and then you got some resume-building wins in here. You just need the teams that you play to handle business. You need Louisville to be undefeated when you play them on the road. You need Florida State to be ranked when you play them at home, right? Early in November. Those November games are going to be very critical. Duke, you need Duke to continue to win the ACC. They might have 2 losses already, but if they 5-2, 6-2 when you play them, you might be looking at a ranked spot. It might be lower, top 25. But again, that could help you out a lot. I'm going with Clemson, man. I think they handle business. I got them winning by 17, man. 38-17 victory. Clemson should handle business, man, going up against, obviously, North Carolina, on the road. They should be able to handle business. All right, man. Let's look at a couple more matchups, and we're going to go to the ACC now, which is the matchups for the week. I got to I cover the ACC essentially for Georgia Tech, so I got to obviously keep you guys, in the loop, man. So we're going to break down some of the top clashes this upcoming week. Let me see if I can find it. Y'all give me one quick second. It is loading. Let me share this screen real quick. All right, here it is. Okay, so let's talk about the big one. So we're going to talk about Clemson and North Carolina, right? So we're going to leave that there. Let's talk about 2 more big matchups this weekend, obviously in the ACC. It starts Virginia and Louisville, right? This Virginia and Louisville game is huge, right? Because Virginia's ranked, right, after beating Florida State, right? They go on the road to Louisville. Now, Louisville, I believe they're still undefeated, right? So Louisville, I mean, this is going to help you. Now, if Louisville wins this game, they're going to be ranked, right? And their schedule, which I'm about to pull up here right now. Give me 1 second. But this is a resume defining win for you, and you still got Clemson on the docket. You know what I'm saying? Clemson's coming up. You're going to play them here, later on in the season. But we're going to share this tab real quick. This is Louisville's schedule, right? So you play Virginia, then you got to play at Miami, right? We know how good Miami's a favorite to win the ACC. Then you have Boston College, Virginia Tech. Say what you want about Virginia Tech. Interim coach in there. They're playing better football. Right? Then you got California. I really stepped on team we're going to talk about here in a second. Really stepped on team in the ACC. They're 4-1 on the year. And then you play Clemson, right? So if you Louisville, you got some games in there that can help you out in terms of getting to the CFP. But you're undefeated. You've handled business. You've been doing things. We know in the strength of this team, nobody wants to admit it, but it's the running backs. They're loaded, right? You got a Keywan Brown, right? You got an Isaac Brown. You know what I'm saying? You got guys that can tote that thing, at the running back spot. You got a Duke Watson too, But the issue when I'm concerned, and everybody was rating Miller Moss as, oh, man, he's that guy. Like, pump the brakes, right? Pump the brakes on Miller Moss. Like, he's been turning over the football a lot, right? Now, they picked up a big win this past week, man, but he has to take care of the football, right? Especially in this game against Virginia, because as we've seen, they will make you pay if you turn over that ball, right? But we know they got the weapons in Chris Bell. We know they got the weapons in Lacey. So if you're Virginia, this is another big win now. They're not ranked, Louisville is, but they're another team that's expected to be a contender in the ACC. So a big game for both parties because Virginia, you continue to build and add to your resume. You win this game, you go to 5-1 on the year, and you already got some big wins on your resume, Louisville and Florida State. If you're Louisville, you want to stay in the running of an ACC contender, right? It looks better on you if you potentially, let's say next week, you lose to Miami. If you handle business against Virginia, a ranked team, handle the second loss, and you continue to trek forward and you had a game against Clemson, you're more likely to be on the outside looking in of a CFP if you can beat one of those two teams. If you can beat a Clemson or a Miami with only one loss on the year, it looks a little more favorable for you. But you got to handle business at home against Virginia. That's where it starts. So it's a big game for both teams because both teams are trying to stay in that relevancy of the ACC and getting up to the top, or top tier, top echelon, I should say. So big game for both teams, man. I'm going with Louisville at home. I think their running game is going to be a little too much for Virginia. I think the Cardinals are for real. They're a real deal. I'm going with, obviously, the Cardinals to win this game, man. All right, now one more ACC match I want to talk about. Very underrated. Duke, California. Another big game for both teams, right? You look at Duke. Man, they put it on Syracuse, right? They beat another good team in NC State, that was on a bye week this past week. So there's another team that's trending forward with Darian Mensah at the quarterback, the ability to run the football, right? Duke got something going on that offensive side of the ball. They're gonna be tough. Now Tech plays them in a few weeks on the road, right? That's a trap game I got circled because they offense can air the ball out. Mensah is the real deal. No one wants to say it in the ACC, but he's probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the conference. You got to be able to handle business, you know what I'm saying, when you go up against them. Because if you play around and you get a slow start, which has been kind of the nemesis of Tech so far, they're going to throw it. They're going to put it on you, and they're going to make you pay. Now, California's another team that's looked good this year. We know about their star quarterback, Jerron. I'm not going to try to say his last name. He's looked good as a true freshman. Ugly game against San Diego State, 34-0, but rebounded well last week. But this is a big late-night game because if you're California, having a good year, no one expected to be 4-1 at this point, you can add a good win to your resume. No, will it get to the CFP? No, it won't. But it'll keep you in balance and continue to move forward. So that's a big game on ESPN later because Duke is a team, high-flying offense. They've scored a lot of points, right? They're tough to beat. Defense ain't the best, but the offense is going to keep them in games. California, add a resume to find a win to your schedule, right? And being able to take that next step forward as a program, one that is trying to build and get back to the relevancy that it once was back in the 2000s and things like that. So a big game for both teams. I expect Duke to put up a lot of points. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, probably one of the high-scoring games we've seen this year. I got Duke with a late walk-off field goal, 48-45. I think they beat California late night, 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. I got Duke with the upset win on the road against California. But I think a game that's probably one of the better games in the ACC this year that just goes back and forth. Teams just throwing haymakers, man. So I'm going with Duke, obviously, in that game, man. All right, man. A couple more previews, man, before we get to obviously talking a little bit about the Heisman. Let's see. Okay, yes, this is the one I want to talk with y'all about. All right. So last one we're gonna talk about, man, is Mississippi State. They're gonna play up against Texas A&M, and it's been a lot coming out of Mississippi State. Excuse me, y'all. A lot been coming out of Mississippi State since they lost to Tennessee. And I don't know if I've seen like the press clippings, but it's been talked about a little bit. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry about that. But a lot has been made of Mississippi State in a home atmosphere, right? And they said it was more Tennessee fans there than it was Mississippi State fans, right? And I thought Starkville gave a really good atmosphere. They did, but they saying that Tennessee had more of a home field advantage than Mississippi State did, which is crazy to think about. But I'm telling you, man, that's what makes Tennessee so special. They have a rabid fan base and a fan base that can travel all over the country, right? But if you Mississippi State, okay, you took your first loss, right? It'll get no easy for you, right? You got Texas A&M. You're going to have Ole Miss coming up. They're number 4 in the country. And you got probably one of the hottest quarterbacks in the SEC, right? Did he have his best game last week against Auburn? No. Marcel Reed did not. But Marcel Reed has taken that step forward. Everyone was talking about, oh, well, can he really throw the football? Is he just a running guy? And we're seeing him with a Mario Craver. We're seeing him with a Kevin Concepcion from Louisville formerly. We're seeing him throw and dice defenses up. Then you got one of the best running backs in the SEC outside of Ahmad Hardy of Missouri, who's running the ball in Le'Veon Moss, right? So it's a tough matchup for Mississippi State, but it's an improved defense. I will say that. They're very opportunistic. They've improved. The linebacking core is really good, but when you look at this matchup, you need Blake Shapen to play better, right? He cannot do what he did last week, right? He just was not good enough to win that game. You need him to be better if you want a chance to win this game, period, right? Or you're not going on the road and beating them. Texas A&M, that atmosphere, that's a tough atmosphere to win, man. Bottom line, that's a tough atmosphere to win, right? And you got two teams, like I said, that Texas A&M, their offense is superb, right? Almost 464 yards of total offense they put up a game, right? Crazy thing, that's 23rd in the nation. You would think that would be like probably top 10, right? And they've continued to trek and get better, right? They're passing, like I said, this goes to Marcel Reed and his progression and his growth. Their passing is actually better than their rushing. Their rushing ranks 61st in the nation. Compared to the passing is top 25 in the nation. So that just talks about the big plays that they have. We've seen the points they put up on Notre Dame. I remember that one, right? Put up over 40 points on them boys. This team has gotten better. Now, I know people say, oh, well, Notre Dame defense is not the same. Say what you want. It's still Notre Dame, right? So if you Mississippi State, you want a chance to win this game. Blake Shapen has to have a really good game. You got to get off to a fast start, right? And you got to force some 3-and-outs, some negative plays, some turnovers, against Texas A&M. And I think you got to get a special teams play that breaks this game open. Kickoff return for a touchdown, a fumble, punt return for a touchdown. You need one of your complementary units to give you some points, give you some go-to in this game if you want to come out on top, I humbly think. But that front for Texas A&M is really good, man. Really good front. I know they don't got Nick Scorton no more. I know they don't got Shamar Stewart. They still get after you. So if you Mississippi State, run the ball, make it easy for your quarterback, and he has to hit on the throws down the field, right? Another big matchup in the SEC, 2-4, 4-1 team and a 4-0 team. Nonetheless, I'm rolling with Texas A&M. I believe in Marcel Reed. I think the kid's the real deal. I think they come out on top, and I think it's a team that shows you they ain't playing or messing around. All right, man. Let's talk about some of these Heisman candidates, man. Those are the matchups that I've previewed for the week. Let's talk about some of these guys. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen with y'all. Some Heisman guys I wanted to highlight. Let me see real quick. Space that out. All right, so y'all tell me what y'all think. But I think these guys have done enough to make a statement to show that they deserve to be in the Heisman, right? Dante Moore, big win on the road. We're seeing the emergence of a Decorian Moore, right? True freshman. Right. And no one's giving Moore a lot of credit because, he's not in that top tier of the Heisman. Right. He's not in that category. right? He's just getting in there, but he's led this Oregon team, right? He's been throwing the ball. He ain't been turning it over. That was a big road win. They throttled what everybody said. They throttled Penn State. They was up 17-3 like almost midway through the fourth quarter. Them boys ain't have no type of answers, like at all. And he's looked good. And the more Oregon wins, the better it looks. Now, 2 weeks, they're going to play Indiana. Big game for both teams. Another name on this list is Fernando Mendoza. Remember, they ran roughshod over Fighting Illini last week. Now, we know Illinois is an exciting team, right? We've seen them win over USC. We seen Luke Altmaier throw the ball and fling that football. They blowed them boys out. I think it was 63-10. Mendoza had like 5 touchdowns, 2 incompletions total. You know what I'm saying? So that's another guy that deserves more credit. And the biggest question with Indiana was last year a fluke, right? Can you do the same thing under Kirk Cignetti? Can you take them next steps forward as a program? And they showing, they here to stay. Now, if you really want to show your program got staying power, when you play them in 2 weeks, that's the game. So go ahead and circle that one, right? Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, 2 really good quarterbacks. Take care of the football, make big plays down the field with their weapons and receivers. 2 really good teams, man. That's going to be the game to watch in a few weeks in the Big Ten to see, okay, which team is going to be that favorite in the Big Ten to win. You still got Ohio State obviously in there. Still got to throw Penn State, but still, those 2 teams, big game obviously for both, right? Now, going to the next guy, Carson Beck. I like him. I just feel like our defense has been so much better. And the reason why I don't put him high on the Heisman list, I won't discuss it because I know somebody had DM'd me to mention Carson Beck. I think he's been complimentary this year. I think he's been decent, guys. I don't think he's been elite. I think when you got to win a Heisman, y'all, I think you have to be elite, right? And I think you have to be the reason your team wins. And for my Hurricanes, I feel like he's helping us, but I don't feel like he's the sole reason we're winning games, right? I really feel like it's our defense, and I feel like it's our defensive front. Right now, this year for Beck, he's thrown for 972 yards. He's thrown for 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Right, we haven't seen like that stamp of Carson Beck game. Now, look, the first game against Notre Dame, he looked really good. I'll give you guys that. But besides that, he's been cool. He's been okay. He's been good. But I feel like Ruben Bain's a guy I think that's been more effective for our team. I think without how good he's playing, and last year battled a lot of injuries, I don't think we'd be as good as a football team. Right? Now, credit Beck. Beck's looked good. He's done his thing. I just think, like I said, to win Heisman Trophy, guys, I think you have to have like a big-time impact on your team. And I think he's having an impact, but I don't think it's to the degree, of a Ruben Bain. I think Bain's impact has been way more bigger on our team. I think Malachi Tony and his emergence has been better on our team. And you go back, and my point I was making earlier, you go back to the game against Notre Dame, or no, my bad. Go back to the game against Florida State, right? Beck didn't have a good game, y'all, right? They leaned on Mark Fletcher. They leaned on a running game. I believe in that. They had a 13-7 lead in that game in the fourth quarter. Again, credit to the Florida defense. But what ended the game? Them running the football. That offensive front. Ruben Bain getting going and making it tough for DJ Lagway, who had like 65 yards passing in that game. This is why I say I believe our defense and Bain and the trench work has had more of an impact on us winning. So for me, Beck would be on the lower tier. Now, going to the next guy, Ty Simpson. I think that's a guy that's effective winning more, right? Everyone wanted to count out Alabama. And you seen the pregame speech. You seen him get into his guys. Nobody thought we was going to be here, right? Let's go out here and do what we need to do. And that's what you want to see from your leader. That's what you want to see from your guy, right? Can he rally the troops? Can he be a guy that they can depend on? And then when you go out there and you sling it against Georgia like that, and everybody's like, oh, what's wrong with Georgia? What's wrong with Georgia? Georgia's young. They're young in the secondary, right? Their most veteran pieces is Dalen Everett and KJ Bolden. That's it. They're young. So it's going to take time for them to get going and to figure everything out. But he lit them up. And he proved that he has staying power. He proved that he should be a guy that should be in that Heisman conversation. Now, you can continue to add to that because you still got to play Tennessee, right? You got Vanderbilt this weekend. You got more big games coming up if you're the Crimson Tide. But Ty Simpson, to me, has shown, along with Fernando Mendoza, along with Dante Moore, they should be in that Heisman trophy candidate list because the impact he's having on his team is huge, right? Again, defense for Alabama played well against Georgia. They did what they were supposed to do, but they still ran for 200 yards. But when he needed to make the throws late in the game, he did it, right? When he had to throw that flat route to Jam Miller to ice the game, guess what? He did it. And I feel like Ty Simpson made enough of the complimentary plays in that one to help his team. Once he got that ball late in that game, they didn't make the defense go back out there and end the game. The offense ended that game, right? So I think he deserves more praise, more credit. He would be high up on my Heisman list. I would make him probably top 3. I think he's been fantastic so far, right? Now, Jeremiah Smith, I know a guy that's been on a lot of Heisman lists. I know people wanted me to discuss him as well. He's been good this year, y'all, but he has not had a Heisman year. Let's just put that out there. He has not had a Heisman year, and I ain't trying to be disrespectful. I still think he's one of the top receivers in the country, but the production from what we've seen last year has not been the same. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. Now, can he get up there? For sure. Last year, 1,315 yards receiving, 15 touchdowns. This year, 396 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns, right? Now, the production can increase. I've liked what I've seen from Julian Sand. I think he's looked good. I think he's done his thing. But I think it'll take a little bit of time to see, like, okay, can he dominate? Like, if he's going to be a Heisman candidate for me, no disrespect, I need to see a 175-yard receiving game from Jeremiah Smith, 2 touchdowns, right? 200-yard game, 4 touchdowns, like, affecting the game. But I feel like Sand is spreading that ball around. I don't feel like he's just throwing to Smith. I feel like he's throwing it to Carnell Tate, right? He's throwing it to his tight ends, right? And I feel like he's mixing and matching the ball. So for me, more of a Heisman candidate, y'all gonna look at me crazy as hell. But I said in one of my posts, I said I think he's the best wide receiver in football, right? Now credit to Malachi Lemon. He's looked good, right? He leads the league in catches and receiving yards. But I think Chris Brown is the best receiver in college football. You know what I'm saying? Argue with your mama. Say what you want. Chris Brazzell has looked good, right? And you can make the argument he would have 8 touchdowns on the year right now, right? If it wasn't for that OPI, that phantom call they had last week. He's not been able to be stopped. 17.1 yards per catch, right? Over 530 yards receiving this year. He cooked, like I said in my other video, cooked Georgia for like 175 yards. Like, no team has had an answer for him. And this Tennessee offense has been superb because they can run the ball with Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas, and they got Chris Brazzell, Mike Matthews, and Braylon Staley. But Chris Brazzell, for me, is the guy that should get warranting a little bit more. Obviously, Joey Aguilar has looked good, but at the same time, I feel like he's had a big impact on his team, right? Now, some of these names on here that y'all want to discuss that people told me, Arch Manning, I'm not there yet. I don't think he's a Heisman candidate. Respectfully. Hasn't done enough. Hasn't done enough early. Is he getting better as the season progresses? Yes. Your test comes this weekend, brother. Right? I want to see you ball this weekend against Florida. A good defense. Can you go for 250 yards and 3 tubs? You know what I'm saying? For me, he's not a Heisman candidate yet. Has more to prove. Has more to do. No. Not a Heisman candidate. Gary Nussmeier. Y'all look at me crazy. He's not had a good year. I told y'all last year. Y'all said, oh, Naj, you're tripping. Like, Nussmeier's the best quarterback in the SEC. He ain't right now. He ain't right now. Right? That goes to Marcel Reed and Ty Simpson to me. And maybe 3 or 4 you throw Joey Aguilar, Gunnar Stockton. It ain't him. You know what I'm saying? And this LSU team has struggled. And it's showing. No running game. You know, and I know they've been put more on Nussmeier's plate. The receivers barely creating separation. He hasn't been a Heisman candidate to me. Has more to do. LSU's still in the running. They still got a shot. More big teams coming up. But he's not look like a Heisman candidate to me. Now, Norris, I like him. I like how he looked against Kentucky, right? But it took them so long to get going. Like, this South Carolina offense has struggled, y'all. They struggled to protect Norris. They've been missing some of those big plays down the field. We know they got Nick Harper. We know about Contravian. But they got to be able to win some of these big games that they're going to have coming up. Like, you got Oklahoma coming up when John Mateer should be back on the 18th of October. Game you got to win, right? So for Norris to, like, trek up into that Heisman conversation and list, got to start winning those big games, man. Just the bottom line. Got to start winning those big games, man. So for me, those would be some of some of the Heisman candidates you guys wanted me to discuss, where I think some of the guys are, where I think some of the guys can improve. That's my overall, obviously, thoughts on that. All right. So Other players I want to discuss that are trending upwards instead of having a conversation. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but Diego Pavia. That's a guy that's continuing to have a strong season for Vanderbilt. But if you want to, like I said, put yourself in that Heisman conversation, 13 touchdowns on the year, 1,200 yards, go be Bama. Go be Bama. Then you could be like, oh, I ain't that guy. I beat Bama twice. Once at home, once on the road. You're going to really strengthen your case this weekend if you can do that. I'm still taking Bama. But if you're able to do that, you're going to strengthen your case. You're going to be able to take that next jump forward. Huge for you. Next is Ruben Bain, another guy. I just told y'all, 22 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. I think he's impacting winning for my Hurricanes way more than Carson Metcalf. Respectfully, I think he's been that guy. You know what I'm saying? Just another guy that I think has been playing really, really, really well. One more discussion I want to give you guys as we wrap up the show for today. Top freshman I want to highlight. Eric Winters. He's looked good for Auburn this year. Over 110 snaps, high PFF grade. He's been doing his thing as a true freshman for the Auburn Tigers, man. They always seem to have like that piece on the defensive side of the ball that steps up big for them. A few years ago, obviously, Jake Crawford, who's continuing to step up at the cornerback spot. But Winters was a big pickup for Auburn, and landing him was massive for that program and that team. He's looked good so far. I want to give him credit. Corian Moore, wide receiver, Oregon. It's another guy I want to give credit to. I think he's looked good so far this season. He's continuing to move forward. He leads them in receiving yards, and he's becoming a more dependable target for the Ducks and for Adante Moore, which is massive moving forward for them. Almost like last year's Jeremiah Smith. Not necessarily the same impact, but he's starting to have those big games, and they're going to have more big games coming up. If he can continue to do that, I think you can see him as a true freshman All-American, a guy that's in that conversation as one of the best receivers in the nation, right? So that's another true freshman, obviously, I wanted to highlight here today. I think it was one more I had I'm trying to think about. I'll go Jerron, California quarterback. You know, again, not a great game against San Diego State, but I think he's the reason. He committed to Oregon, decommitted, and then went to California. Wise decision, right? Because he's having that team flourish, right? California's kind of, I'm not going to say they're relevant for ACC crowd, but they're kind of back to relevancy with him and his improvement and how he's looked as a true freshman. When you have that, I think that helps your program out a lot. He's looked good as a true freshman, obviously, for them, moving forward and continuing to make plays and continue to be a guy that they can lean on in those big games. Got another big one this weekend, right? Going up against Duke. Can you handle business? Can you do your thing? Right? Another obviously massive one. And one more I want to highlight is the Maryland quarterback. He's looked good so far. 2025, true freshman Malik Washington. I wanted to highlight him today. He's looked really good. He's living up to expectations. He has Maryland in a really good spot. He's continuing to do his thing. I think he's been obviously special this year as well, for obviously Maryland, what he's been able to do so far. It's top 25 in passing yards and touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, and obviously 1,038 passing yards. He's looked good. Another guy I really like, man. So want to get those guys some shine as we close out the show and obviously break it all down, man. But quick comment, it's still Go Dogs. I blame Bobo. He can't get it right. I feel you, Jimmy. To a degree, you're right. I just think some of it, man, is like y'all receivers had drops too, man. And I know it didn't look pretty for them quarters, but they was running the ball, right? He was leaning on Josh McCurry. He was leaning on Chauncey Bowens, who had another really good game. I think a receiver just has to make plays for you, man. They got to help out Gunner. No, the play calling ain't good. I'm not saying it is, but at the same time, I credit some of the players for this as well. The players got to make plays when it comes to them. I know he's a true freshman, and Taylor, you got to make that catch. That catch there alone changed that game for Georgia, right? He makes that catch, they go up in that game against Bama. And then we could be talking about something totally different. Then you put Ty Simpson back out there, got to have it drive and be able to go back and take the lead. It's huge, man. Them little mistakes like that is the difference between a win and a loss. So for me, I feel you. Mike Bobo has to do a better job. But the players got to make plays too, man. That's all I'm saying. Players going to make plays. But big game this week against Kentucky. Y'all should be able to handle business. Obviously, South Carolina routed them. I know Kirby's going to have that defense looking a lot better, especially in the passing game, man. But Georgia should be fine, man. I know they dropped, I think it was number 12 in the standings, man. Georgia should be fine and continue to handle business. They'll have another big game coming up at home against Texas. So that'll be a big one to see really where they at. Last year they handled Texas. I'm saying that game actually beat them twice. Beat them on the road and beat them in the SEC championship game, man. So that's another big one coming up. Just Alabama's y'all kryptonite, man. I don't know what it is. Kirby's 1-6 against them. That's the kryptonite, unfortunately. And sometimes it be like that, man. Sometimes you have teams that just have your number. I think that's a team that has y'all number. But I think they'll let y'all be fine. Again, team's young, right? Georgia is young. So it's going to take time for that to kind of mesh together on the side of the ball, especially from your secondary. But I like y'all linebackers, man. Woo! Y'all fly to the ball. I love them linebackers, man. They look good. And another name nobody's talking about, but had a really good game, Quintavious Johnson from Mays High School. Whoa. He looked good in that game against Bama. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much PT he getting, but he deserves more PT. You know what I'm saying? Because he looked good on Saturday against Alabama. I got to get that boy some more PT, man. If he balling like that on that level, man, look the hell out. So I think it'll take Georgia time. Georgia should figure it out, though, man. Come on. This is Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Bama's just the kryptonite. That's all. Y'all boys should be fine. But that's going to wrap up the show, man. Look, hope y'all appreciate the debut show, man. Appreciate all the comments. Shout out to Reggie, man. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. As I started the show with the Alabama versus Vandy preview, man. And again, this show is just, we was doing it on Mondays, talking college football and all the big topics and stuff like that. But, it kind of got taken over by high school football. We do basically just all high school football on, obviously, that Monday. We was doing Georgia Tech, Georgia football. We was talking about all that, but kind of got, taken over. So I want to have another day where we just discuss all college football, and obviously I'll be, heading this show by myself. But if y'all got any topics, what I'm saying, anything y'all boys want to see, please let me know, man. Like I said, I'm here to tailor this show towards y'all and just to talk college football, man, because I love the sport. The sport is a lot of fun to watch. It's changing. You got NIL, transfer portal, revenue sharing. It's a fun sport to cover, man. So I'm here for y'all and here to grow the platform and obviously grow and to tailor it to my audience. So whatever y'all boys want to see, every Wednesday we will be here, a weekly show as y'all voted on. Probably the time will probably be every Wednesday, 6:30 or 7 p.m. One of those times, depending on kind of how the schedule plays out. But definitely every single Wednesday at either 6:30 p.m. or 7, I will be here with you guys talking college football, man. But much shout out to y'all, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. But he had chances with it, right. And Kirby knows we've never won a chip on his watch. Bubba can't win. All right, I feel you. I feel you, man. I think this year will be a good test. I feel you, though. Yeah, I'm not saying you incorrect on that, Jimmy. You bring up a great point. But we're going to leave that there, man. We will see you guys next Wednesday for the show, for the college football show, The Truth with Najeh Wilkins, where we keep it 100% real, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.